In this very brief section, we're going to look at the Anglo North American worldview. Just give us a little bit of a snapshot. There's all kinds of material written about North America, all kinds of material written about North American worldview. If you remember the discussion from Livermore, he acknowledged we're a nation of immigrants, and so there are worldviews found throughout this country rather than a single worldview. There's a problem with the term in and of itself, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But what I want to do is just give you a quick snapshot first of the North American worldview and give you a chance to look at this. The direction this comes from that I'm going to look at here is Faith Popcorn, and that is her actual name. And she's been a consumer trends analyst for a few decades now in North American culture, and she advises a lot of Fortune 500 companies. You'll find this if you just Google Faith Popcorn Brain Reserve, you will find this material there. And so I'm going to walk you through each of these individual things, 17 trends, and she set it up more along the lines of a periodic table than anything else. So first, and we'll just take them one at a time, and I'll spend maybe 1 to 2 minutes on each. Future tense. Consumers' anxiety ridden by simultaneous social, economic, and political and ethical chaos find themselves beyond their ability to cope with today or imagine tomorrow. So if you're a corporate executive manufacturing products, what does this mean for you? If you're in a service sector, what does this mean for you? If you can clearly see how insurance companies can play to this. Making sure that you've got insurance to cover yourself for the contingencies that are likely going to come, and you're feeling that they're more likely going to come now than you've ever felt before. And so what Popcorn is asking is, how are we preparing corporations for this? What I'd like to ask is, what's the church doing about this? It seems the church, more than any other agency in our society, can provide help in this area. What's the future going to bring? In the midst of a chaotic world and chaotic life, how can you have assurance? How can you rise above your circumstances? That sounds exactly like things that we teach about. But I'm not sure we're trying to address them the way Popcorn is. And so one of the questions I can ask is, what does she see in consumers about this trend that we as a church then can go to where their world is and address them in ways that meet their actual needs, rather than just ways that talk about theological issues. Pleasure revenge. Consumers are having a secret bannacle. They're mad as hell and they want to cut loose again. I've had a love-hate relationship with a diet I've been on. I've tried to eat low carb, and then today, of course, people brought donuts into the classroom for snacks, and I limited myself to 2 donuts, which is not really limiting myself. How often do you seek something that gives you pleasure after denying yourself for so long? And again, what Popcorn is asking is, where can corporations fit into this mix? You see the Twinkies down there at the bottom of the picture. My favorite happens to be deep-fried Twinkies, and so when I really want pleasure revenge, I can go after a deep-fried Twinkie or deep-fried Oreo or a deep-fried Snicker bar or something like that, and those are marvelous things. And it's a fascinating thing to see so many stores having these little specialty shelves where they have these types of things available. And that hits another trend that we'll get to a little bit later. But this is pleasure trend, or pleasure. Small indulgences ties in with pleasure revenge. Pleasure revenge is motivated by, I need to get back at this diet, or I need to get back at this discipline. There's something I need to take out on what's going on. But small indulgences just say, well, I need something to relax. I need something to help me. That's why you find little Lindt chocolates individually sold, or Godiva chocolates individually sold at cash registers. Stressed out consumers want to indulge in affordable luxuries and seek ways to reward themselves. Okay, here's an interesting question. Where might this make its way into our church? Good question. I don't think we're ready to try communion with donuts. So we do have gluten-free options for people.
Coffee bars.
Oh, the coffee stuff.
Yeah, the coffee stuff that we offer at church. And our church also occasionally has a basket with a cut-up loaf of some kind of bread with cinnamon in it or something like that, a sweet bread. We see that. It'd be interesting to ask where this might fit in a worship service or not fit in a worship service, where this might fit at a home study fellowship, where this might fit in a number of places. But again, the key word is indulgences here. So this is over-the-top things that are small. I think of the immediate popularity when they first came out of cake pops at Starbucks. You still see them around. They're not the buzz item, but you can think to yourself, what's the buzz item today that would fit this category of a small indulgence? To me, at least more recently, in a lot of places, it's the mini servings of things. They have small, but if I want a mini serving of frozen custard at Culver's, that's a small indulgence for me. And I can eat that without feeling as guilty. Or I can buy the box of crackers that have individual wrapped packages that are 100 calories per package. It doesn't matter to me if I eat 25 of those packages in a day. All I know is they're 100 calories each. And so trying to market small indulgences for people, you'll see consumers doing this. Save Our Society. The country rediscovers a social conscience of ethics, passion, and compassion. If I were to say what's the agency du jour here at Wheaton College, it would be IJM, International Justice Mission. People are deeply interested in trafficking. You hear about orphanages, not as much as you do human slavery and things like that. I'm not, when I say the agency du jour, I'm not being pejorative with that. I'm just saying among the undergraduate students that I come across, what will be the agency that's most popular is one that's dealing with these justice issues. And my kids, as I watch them grow up, have gotten involved in what are we doing that's making a difference. I have a daughter who just became a CPA, and I'm trying to tempt her to move back to Wheaton because I've got a friend who would hire her tomorrow if she would come down here, and as an accountant, and he's got a foundation. They see about $100 million go through their coffers every year. It's all helping God's people do what God has called them to do. That's different than doing the taxes for a millionaire who is self-absorbed. And that had an instant appeal to her. She's not quite ready to quit and leave and come down here. Her husband has something to say about that too. They're clearly a partnership, but I'm hoping someday perhaps to tempt her to come down based on the idea that she can make a real difference for society through accounting that's helping agencies that are doing God's work around the world in a variety of ways. Icon toppling, a new socioquake transforms mainstream America and the world as the pillars of society are questioned and rejected. What was the name of the protest about Wall Street?
We are the one.
Occupy, yeah, Occupy. Right, and that is an example of icon toppling, and what Popcorn is trying to ask is as corporate manufacturers or corporate service providers, are you offering high-quality gas masks to people? But again, you try and think in what sense is the missional church movement and emerging church movements, in what sense is icon toppling a part of their DNA? And the icons they're toppling might be the more traditional mainline churches. It doesn't mean they're anti-mainline churches, but sometimes people like that edge because it's going against that normal grain. Even at the same time that I am seeing people like my kids want to get involved with Anglican churches because they like that connection to history. That's not icon toppling. But those who are involved in some of the more avant-garde and edgy church planting types of ventures, part of their motivation might be this icon toppling, and they're certainly appealing to an audience that wants to reject the traditional church altogether and be involved with a movement that makes a difference to them.